Most trading YouTubers are making the same mistake that's killing their view count, and it has nothing to do with their trading skills. I've seen hundreds of chart analysis videos that range from the biggest trading channels to the smallest, and I noticed that there's a key difference between the ones that gets tens of thousands of views and the ones that get 10 views. I noticed that there's a clear format that gets 10 times the engagement, and in this video I'm going to show you exactly what it is. Now before we start, this is not just another generic how to make YouTube videos tutorial. This is specifically about chart analysis content, how to get more people watching and how to get more people watching for longer. This is because the single most important metric on YouTube right now is session watch time. That is, the longer that you keep people on your channel watching ads, the more YouTube will promote you to more people. So I'm going to go over the problems of regular chart analysis videos and how to fix them. I'm also going to show you a 3-part formula that you can use that requires little to no editing to start making your own, and then finally some more advanced techniques to take them to the next level. But first of all, part 1, the problem. So let's start with why 99% of chart analysis videos don't work from a viewer retention standpoint. So you're on YouTube and you click on a trading video and you have a guy in front of a chart and he starts saying, oh, we have the daily time frame on Bitcoin. As you can see, we have some support and resistance levels here. If price hits this, we can expect it to go up, blah, blah, blah. Now that probably sounds familiar because that's how 99% of traders start their chart analysis videos. And the problem with this is that you've given the viewer little to no reason to continue watching. Think of it from the viewer's perspective. They clicked on the video because they want to know something specific. Maybe they want to know whether Bitcoin's going to dump or if it's going to pump. Maybe they want to learn a new trading strategy, but instead of answering their burning questions, you instead went into a long lecture about chart levels. Now, showing off your technical expertise, it is super important to show potential buyers that you know what you're talking about, but it's very important to balance this with the elements that make for a good video. Part 2, the solution. In this video, we're going to be looking at Craig Picoco's content very closely because out of all the trading YouTubers, he's the one who's cracked the code on how to get 50k to 100k views on all of his chart analysis videos. And the method that he uses that can instantly double your retention is called the outcome first method. And it's based on a principle that Hollywood has been using for decades. And this is how it works. Basically, instead of starting with the analysis, you instead start with the result and then work backwards to explain how you got there. So for example, instead of starting with here's the daily chart on Bitcoin, Craig might start with something like, I turned $400 into $4,000 in 24 hours using this one method. And that's the hook. The viewer now has a specific outcome that they're invested in seeing. But you can't just tease the outcome and then immediately explain everything. You need to create what we call tension loops. A tension loop is when you reveal just enough to spark curiosity, but not enough to satisfy it. So for example, after showing the 4K result, Craig might say something like, but before I show you how I found this exact setup, there's something critical you need to know about these specific market conditions that 99% of traders absolutely miss. So do you see what he did there? He created a knowledge gap. The viewer now knows that there's something that he doesn't know that is super important, and they can't stop watching until that gap is filled. Part 3, the 3-part structure. Now let's break down the exact 3-part structure that makes Craig's videos work so well. So part 1 is the intro / result reveal. This is where he starts with the outcome first method that we talked about in the previous section. But what he also does is he switches between himself in full screen and also to the charts, and he uses really good editing to hook people from the start. And this is critical. The more people that are hooked in the first 30 seconds, the more likely they are to watch until the end, which improves your session watch time and makes the algorithm love you, but it also improves the chances that people finish the video and then they go to the description and hopefully click your links and buy your products. Now, if you don't have an editing team behind you, here's a simple way that you can copy this. So start with the result first on the chart, then jump to yourself in full screen where you give a quick overview of what you're going to cover in the video. Now, this is also the perfect spot to drop a tension loop before going into the main analysis. If you do have an editor, what you can do is you can have him edit the start with animations and transitions before you move on to the charts. And then part 2 is the main bulk of the video, and this is where you explain how you got to that result that you teased at the start. You want to show the chart, your analysis, and all your knowledge. For this part, you want to be in a small bubble in the corner of the screen, and this is because people are much more likely to buy your coaching programs if they can see your face. It builds trust and familiarity, but what you don't want to do is you don't want to have yourself so big that you distract from what's actually happening on the charts. Some tips for this part is number 1, use more tension loops and reveal your analysis piece by piece. Don't just dump everything at once. And then second is to format every chart you analyze like a story. Each one should have a beginning, middle, and an end, which is a conflict, a resolution, and a clear transformation. For example, instead of saying price broke through resistance, Craig might say something like, The market was stuck in this range for 3 weeks with sellers desperately trying to push the price down, but then something changed. At exactly 2:47 p.m, the buyers broke through, and what happened next shocked everybody. Now this is an extremely exaggerated example, but this just gives you a general concept of what to follow when talking about the charts. And part 3 is the outro. Craig gives a quick recap of his trades that he covered in the video before moving into a call to action for his courses and his programs. So that's the basic structure. If you're still with me, I'm going to move into some advanced techniques that takes Craig's videos from good to super addictive. Part 4, advanced techniques. First, he uses pattern interrupts. Every 60 to 90 seconds, he breaks the pattern in his delivery. So this could be a quick zoom in on a specific section of the chart, a quick cut to his position calculator, or even just changing the tone on the delivery of one of his lines. The human brain, it craves novelty, and doing these pattern interrupts, it keeps the viewer locked in. Second, Craig leverages social proof moments. Instead of just showing his analysis, he shows how the market reacts. So for example, look at this. Within minutes of this breakout, $50 million of volume poured in. That must mean smart money was clearly watching his level. By saying stuff like that, it makes his analysis feel validated and important. Third, Craig creates anticipation anchors. This is where he tells the viewer explicitly what to look for. For example, he might say, look at this level here. If price breaks below that, everything changes. Now the viewer is actively engaged and waiting exactly for that moment. And finally, Craig uses callback connections. This is where he references an earlier part of the analysis as the trade unfolds. For example, he might say something like, remember that fair value gap I showed you at the start? Watch what happens when price approaches that level again. This creates a sense of continuity and it also makes the viewer feel smart for remembering what was happening. And that's how you format chart analysis videos that get tens of thousands of views instead of a few hundred views. Now I know that this was a lot to take in, so feel free to go back through the video again to rewatch any parts that you might have missed. So here's what I recommend. Get your next chart analysis video and restructure it using Craig's format. Start with the outcome, build tension with strategic reveals, and turn your analysis into a story. I guarantee you'll see an immediate improvement in your retention metrics. But making people watch more of your content is just one piece of the puzzle when it comes to making money off YouTube. YouTube is great, but it's just one aspect of your business. That's why you need to watch this video here where I break down the exact sales funnel that you should have to make serious money using YouTube. Because there's no point in getting all these views if it doesn't convert into actual sales. But I hope this was helpful and I'll see you in the next one.